Here.
We'll stand, I'll do the invocation, and then follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Father God, thank you for bringing us here tonight. Allow us to work together for the betterment of this city. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go on to new business items, and we'll start with the sewer.
So Jason is out this week, so I'm going to run through his budget line items the best I can and answer what questions I can, and what Jeremy and I cannot answer, we can bring back to you. So obviously, unlike the general fund systems, the sewer water have their own revenues, so we'll go through their revenues first. We have several different components, just like in the water. You'll see a lot of similarities to the water system. We have the service fee revenue, and that's just your monthly charge and any KGAL charges you may have over 5,000. Grinder pump replacement fees. So if we have to go in and replace the grinder pump because of damage that was done and we bill out, we'll get that money back. Sewer connection fees. We had talked about this a little bit in the past, how the connection fees we have right now for sewer and water are very low. So we will be revisiting that when we talk about budget for those systems next week. Grinder installations, that's new construction. So if they have to put in a new grinder. Interest obviously is just bank interest. Miscellaneous revenue water, it says water, so I didn't change it to sewer. That may be if somebody damages our system when they're digging or something like that and we need to recover the money, or it could be anything. This year in the budget for 2025, we did have budgeted impact fees and infrastructure support to move into the system to help balance the budget. We had a lot of capital changes like you always do in the sewer and water systems, but we've had a lot of grinder pumps that have failed, and we've done some lift station replacements, some of that with ARPA money. And of course, we have the grant for the DEP grant for the wetlands and wastewater treatment plant. So those all fall under the revenue or the sources side. And then, of course, like all the other departments, we have your personnel charges. And one of the things that we'll be working on when Jason gets back on Monday, Jeremy and I are going to meet with him and work on Public Works budget some more before Tuesday and Thursday's meetings next week. And one of the things that Jason's done that's been really great is reallocate his staffing. He's recognized who does a good job in which areas where he needs help and really optimized his staff. So when we look at the salary numbers, we want to make sure that we have the right people in the right places, that we're reflecting all those changes that have been made, and that going forward into 26, that's where the people are going to be. And part of that is because when you're dealing with water and sewer versus general fund, you have dedicated areas for your expenses. So if somebody's working in water, you don't want to be paying for them out of sewer. So we're going to go back and review that and just tighten that up a little bit. There shouldn't be any huge changes or anything, but it's something that we revisit when we do budget and if there are any changes during the year. And there's nothing outstanding in any of these. I don't remember if we talked at all about, in general, like our life and health insurance. You know, we pay, well, I say obviously, people may not know that, we pay for our employees' health insurance. So that's about $1,200 a month per employee. So when you look at that and you go, wow, $62,000 compared to the salary, that seems like a lot. It's because it's a fixed price per employee that we put in there. So it is something that we try to remind people of when we're recruiting too, that you do have that as a benefit. Training and travel, we don't have a lot in that right now. Sometimes you'll see training in there for different certifications in the water and wastewater systems. Professional services, Twofold. We mentioned this during water. Twofold is a third party that has licensed operators. So on the weekends or if there's vacations, they can bring in an employee to man the plants and monitor the plants in a way that we don't have other staff. We don't have backup licensed people. So it gives us that opportunity if we have a gap. Lab testing, it's exactly what it sounds like, all the different testing that we have to do in the plants. Auditing, because we have such heavy grant presence in the sewer department, we do have a separate single audit we have to do for them, so that's part of that. Sludge hauling, so we reduce the waste in our wastewater system, but then we have to have a way to get rid of that. It doesn't just go away. So we have to haul it. So a third party comes in with their trucks and takes that away. This year, because we've been doing the plant renovation and the wastewater treatment, the wetlands have been changing, we had more hauling than we thought we would have. It wasn't a normal year because there were delays in the wetlands. It meant our disposal was a little bit different. So when we're working through the 25 budget, this is one area that kind of stands out to me that we'll be a little bit over on this, and that's due to the way the schedule was for the construction. It's nothing that's blowing the budget or anything, but it is something that the activity varied from what we had anticipated when we were doing the budget. Wireless, that's our cell phones, and communication services, that's the call center that takes calls on the weekends and after hours. So if somebody has a grinder pump alarm going off or something, that's where they'll call in, and then the call center communicates with our on-call staff if they need to go out. Utilities, this is for the plant, so obviously that's a pretty hefty expense. It also includes all the pumps at the lift stations. Obviously they all need to have an energy source to operate, so they all have electricity as well. Property and liability insurance is just that. It's for the plant, and primarily it also is for the vehicles for the sewer department that travel around. The repair and maintenance plant and collection system, we started breaking out our expenses a little bit differently for the 25 budget than we had done in the past, just to make it a little more transparent, because you end up with a lot of like operating expenses, operating supplies, and you're like, well, what is that? So we'll probably modify it a little bit more going into 26's budget, just to be a little bit cleaner and do a little better job of figuring out exactly where we want to put things to make it as clear as possible for people. So plant, and then the collection system, the pipes in the ground that come from people's homes. So repair and maintenance on that fall in that line item. Lift station generators, so we have to exercise the generators, test them, do maintenance on them each year, make sure that they're going to operate when we need them to. Most of the times they sit idle and we don't, we haven't needed to turn them on, but we do have a maintenance agreement and have to do that. The repair and maintenance grinder pumps, you'll see there's another line that's similar to this one, and again, that's one of those categories where we're trying to break out whether we're repairing a pump, replacing a pump, putting in a new pump, and it sounds like it probably doesn't really matter, but it's important to know which ones, so we know how to budget accordingly. So we budgeted $50,000 for grinder pumps. Right now we have more than that posted there, but when we look at one of the other lines that's similar, we have much less. So we're not going over budget. We just need to really work on refining the pump part. One of the challenges is that the repairs and even the installation involve a lot of ancillary parts. So you get parts that are $3 and you get parts that are $300. And so to try to make sure those all match what you're installing, because you get a bill and you'll have all these different parts on it, and trying to make sure they go to the right thing takes a little extra effort, but we're trying to do that just so we get accurate numbers. And that also helps us when we're trying to decide pricing. So if we've talked in the past about, should we put a fee on people's bills for having a grinder pump, because we go out and we service it and we don't charge them for that. If we don't have good data, we don't know what that number should be. So the better our data is, the better job we can do at getting the correct charges for things like that, just as an example. Repair and maintenance vehicles, that's obviously the sewer department's vehicles. Rental equipment, this is just should we need something, if we needed to rent a vac truck for something, or whatever heavy equipment, if we need to borrow it or use it for one project. Operating supplies grinder station, so we have the different parts of the plant that involve grinders. We have the grinder pumps at people's homes. So like I said, this is one of those categories where we need to really continue to work on refining that. Office supplies, operating supplies. Typically, the operating supplies, most of that is small repairs throughout the system. And so you'll get some, did you have a question? I'm sorry. No? Okay. Tools, fuel and oil, employee uniforms, those are all pretty self-explanatory. Chemicals, this is something we're going to really look at and see how we're doing on inflation, because of course the chemicals are probably one of the highest percentage increases each year. It's not the largest expense, but it usually increases quite a bit year over year. And then subscription and dues. And then in the capital portion, where we're actually buying things that are assets that we would book. So lift station pumps, we didn't have to buy any this year. We had done quite a bit with infrastructure funds before, so we haven't had to spend that. Replacement grinder pumps and basins. So again, this is if you're having to go in and do an entire pump and basin, and those get very expensive. We have not spent the $250 at all. We're not even close to that. But again, we went over a little bit in the other grinder pump type categories. And then the wetland expansion, these again are under the grant, so we track our expenses here. The reimbursements were up in the revenue portion. And the mower max, it's a lease to own. It's $63,000 a year. I think we have 2 more years to go. I think we finish in 27. And I don't know if you recall what the mower max is from when we got it. It's kind of cool. It's giant. It's the thing you see when they do the sides of the trees on the side of the road, where they just have a big arm, or they'll do the wetlands with that. That was the primary purpose of buying it, was for the wetlands. And then the AMI system, even though it's water meters, we use water meters to bill for sewer, to know what volume to bill for. So a portion of the debt service for the AMI is on the sewer side. It's not as much, but we do collect it on this side as well. And then we have the debt payments that are USDA bonds for when the system was installed. And then our transfer to the general fund, like all the other funds that are not general fund do make a transfer to the general fund to support all the administrative activities that go on, and kind of for housing the whole city. And then this is just the summary of the expenses in the different categories that we just went through. And that's it. And that moves us to CRA. Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
Who would like to go first?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
So we've got almost $500,000 in debt service still from a plant that we built over 20 years ago. Debt's killing us. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that now, but that's a huge burden to carry
Yeah.
this far along.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we don't have any debt for the expansion. We're still sure that we're coming in
Yep.
on budget.
Yep.
That's really good news. And the wetlands are holding still, we know? Okay, that's also really good news. On the sludge hauling, we're hauling it wet. We don't have a press.
Correct.
Is there, I don't know how much a press would cost, but land applying dry sludge would be a lot cheaper hauling than land applying. It would be a lot cheaper than hauling wet sludge.
Yeah.
And
Is that something that we could?
Jason's definitely looked into it, and it's incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are,
Yeah.
but it was one of those that was prohibitive. But he continues to look at it and see if there's any updates, changes in technology, or anything that would be more helpful, because absolutely, it's a lot more expensive to deal
And
with it.
I don't think going out to bid for something like that is going to make that much of a difference. There's not that many people that haul wet sludge.
Right, right. And we have 2 different companies that do it that work with us, and they're very
Yeah.
similar. So.
Yeah.
And again, that hope is not a plan, but we'll see how we do with the new plant online once the old plant or existing plant is renovated. We have the wetlands in place. I don't know what the final outcome would be, but I can't, I would imagine it would improve, but I'm not an expert in that in any way, shape, or form.
In terms of the revenue side, transfer in from impact fees, we've got almost $400,000. So we got that much in impact fees.
Yes,
That's good.
yep, and that about cleans it out.
Okay. Was that all new impact fee revenue from the last fiscal year? Or was there
No,
fund
that was
balance in
that
there?
was a couple years worth.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I hate seeing these grinder pumps. It just shows us what a flawed system, what? It's on, it's green. Green will make you right. But, the grinder pump, it just shows what a flawed system we purchased the first time. And now, moving forward, all we're doing is gravity fed, correct?
Yes,
So we won't,
yes.
is there, I know there's probably not, but I'm gonna ask just for the sake of asking, is there anything else we can do? I know retrofitting to,
Right.
is probably not even,
Well, it's
on
like,
the
I just had
spectrum.
that conversation with someone today. If we could only have an AMI solution to the sewer system, but it's just crazy.
To help with the grinder pumps, Jason and I have briefly discussed it. We gotta get more attorney, guidance from it. But we maintain these grinder pumps, we rebuild them, everything for free, and they're a component of the house. So when the grinder pumps originally came, it was supposed to be the homeowner's responsibility. So what we're looking it's in the early stages of formulating the idea, but at some point, transferring responsibility from the city to the homeowner. So because right now, if your grinder pump gets up, something goes wrong with it, our public works has to go and fix it. If it's your responsibility, you can call whatever plumber you want, and, you can do that. And, so we're looking at if we come over and we put a new grinder pump in your house, your grinder pump goes up for whatever reason, we put one in your house, we're looking at a mechanism that when that new grinder pump, that's your grinder pump now. So if it breaks, we're looking at how to transfer, because it's a component of the house, and it's also a component of the system too. But we're working with the attorney to see if there's a mechanism where we can do that.
yeah, part of that just feels like bad because we forced everybody to go to grinder pumps, and then because it's costing us money because it was a bad idea, we're gonna tell you, no, now it's your problem. But I don't know how we keep this up. Honestly, I don't. I mean, I see why we're thinking that way, because I think we have to think that way almost, but
And one of the conversations Jason and I have talked about too is, we have 1,800 sewer customers, over 1,000 grinder pumps. And, they have been repairing them for so long, and now, you're at the point where you just can't fix them anymore. So you're having to replace them. Well, even if we replaced 40 grinder pumps a year, it would take us 25 years to get through the whole system. More than that, because there's more than 1,000. So it's one of those, it's expensive, and it's difficult, and it's time consuming, and, we need to do it. We have to maintain the system and have it work, but it's, and one of the things we've talked about too is, do we do a $10 a month charge if you have a grinder pump? Is that, and again, it's all one of those, there's 100 ways to do it. What's the most
right.
revenue stable for us and least impactful to the customers? So those are all the things we've been thinking about.
We're not paying, if I remember correctly, but just for clarification, we're not paying to fix grinder pumps that the homeowner has broken due to them flushing things incorrectly.
Right, we
or-
bill them for that.
Yeah, we
Okay.
build them, so what we do is somebody flushes a pair of underwear down their kid, a child
I
flushes
don't feel
their
like that.
underwear.
Oh, kids. I was about to say, I don't feel like that's super common.
There's a lot of people flushing underwear these
Yes.
days.
Right.
You may not think it's super common, but we got pictures. we
God.
take pictures of it and
Or
show
towels
that.
or-
So if somebody flushes and does something, or the grease, dumping grease down, and that
Yeah,
ruins
no,
it.
that's a more common. Yeah, I know that's a really common thing.
The underwear is more common than you think. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
People,
And
what are we doing
so
here?
we take pictures of it, we put it in a file in case they come back and say, no, it was just wore out. No, here's the pictures of the damage, and we do charge them for that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think it's important also to note operationally, we couldn't have more efficient people. When we've got JC who's at that plant and he will punch a hole in a penny to save 2 cents to not buy a 3-penny washer, he is the epitome of efficiency.
Yep.
So, I mean, I have a lot of confidence in what they're doing
Yeah.
out there, being as cost-effective as they can be.
Right. And there's a lot of training going on, because JC's not going to stay here forever. So Jason's had the, foresight to go get other employees that are working with him and try to pick up on some of that knowledge, because, he's done it forever, so it takes a lot to transfer that information. But yeah, so if we had a $40 million grant and redid our system, that would be amazing. But
Let me know when that comes.
you'll be the first to know. No, that would be, that's the hard part.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
No.
Oh, I did have one. So I know you said right now the sewer connection fees are kind of low. Do you know how much of an impact that would be if we did change them? Is that going to help out any?
I'm going to talk to Jason about that and see the particulars of it, because that's in his arena. So I don't have that information yet, but we'll talk about that on Monday. Okay, I'll turn it over to Amy to talk about CRA.
Hello, everybody. I'm Amy Bohannon, CRA manager. Ours is pretty easy. We get our funding from part from the city, part from the county. So that's what that TIF ad valorem is. Ours actually, this is for our current year, but we came in with a little bit more, so we'll have to do an adjustment on that. We got a little bit more money this year. It was $153,730 from the county and from the city's match. So the total was $307,460. So sorry, my throat's a little funky today. We have our building, so we charge rent for our building. The building department is in it. So that's where our rental income comes from. It's $1,000 a month. We have interest. We've had money in the bank, and that's money that we've earned off the interest. We came in low on that. Currently, we're almost at $3,000. So a lot of the estimates on here, when it comes to revenues, I always try to be lower, and then the expenses I try to be higher, just so that we don't end up bottoms up. There was money in there. That's that roll forward balance. So that carried over, and that's our revenues that we've been working on. Now the expenses. So we have employees. So it's me and another person. And like I said before, I always inflated a little bit because I didn't know. I knew we were going to have a lot of projects going on. I didn't know if we were going to have overtime or hire extra people. So the 78 is a little higher. So we'll end up with a positive balance there. We have an audit that we do, so that's our audit expenses, the $4,000 we contribute to it. We have some grant programs. We have the commercial facade grant program. We have $40,000 in that. And then we did $20,000 when we opened up the residential facade grant program as well. Travel and training, we went a little high this year just because we had a new manager, new staff. We weren't sure who was going to do what. So we're actually going to come in a little lower on that item. But we put it in there just because we want to make sure everybody's on the same page and has the education that we need to really make great things happen. Professional services, so we knew we were going to have some projects coming up, so we put a $50,000 in there for that. Working with GAI, that'll eat up some of it. So a lot of these are hopeful things, and we're in the works with our projects, as you know, being the CRA board, as well as the commission. So professional services planning, because I knew that we would need some planning aspects, so we put $35,000 in there for that. We also we have an interlocal agreement with the police department. So we have policing in the CRA district, and then we also try to find innovative ways to add to it. So last year we did the e-bike, or this current year, sorry. I'm thinking of next year already. And I believe that we're going to follow that trend, so we'll have more biking activity downtown, so we have that nice, friendly presence. We added a beautification line item, so that's all the planters and anything pretty that you see the plants. We're under budget on that currently as well. I know we're going to have another push coming out soon because the plants it's really hot. So, eventually we have to redo those. We pay for the attorney when we have an attorney present. And then I also have a cell phone, so that's on there. And then utilities for our building. We have insurance, liability insurance on our building as well. And repair and maintenance, it needs some work, so I haven't delved into that yet. We've been working on other projects, but that line item will probably carry over for next year as well. Printing, because I know that with all these new things coming out, we're going to have to pump out flyers and displays. So that's why I put money in that line item. I like to keep it all so we know exactly. I want to be as transparent as possible. I put money for a CRA event because I was hoping that we would have a ribbon cutting by now, but things are a little slower than I would hope, than I always hope for. But anyway, eventually we'll get there where we have some really cool things that we can celebrate. Office supplies, we have a line item for that. We have operating supplies. We're lower in that too. I wasn't sure what was going to pop up with some of these projects, so I made sure that we had some cushion there. And fuel and oil, so for whenever the Polaris is active, that's where the money goes for that. Employee uniforms, we're a little over this year in that line item because we did purchase some hats, and then we got some things for the farmer's market. She needed some new shirts and a hat, so we'll have to do a little adjustment on that line item. And then the subscriptions and memberships, we're a member of the FRA, the Florida Redevelopment Association, and they're a very helpful tool and a great resource for us. And then the fund projects. So we put a big chunk of money because we really want to work on this parking project. So that's where the focus of the funds really for this year and next year are going to be on the different improvements throughout the town, or throughout our district, sorry. We have to stay in our district. And then we do a transfer to the general fund, like all the others. And that's pretty much our budget. Any questions or concerns?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, legislatively, CRAs are still
It didn't
operational?
pass. Yeah, it
Okay.
got tabled. So, but that's not to say that they're not going to bring it up again. I feel like they
Always,
will.
yeah.
It's coming up for a couple years now. I look back at the past legislation over maybe the past 5 years, it's come up 3 times. It'll come back up, but it died in committee this year in the legislative.
I mean, I would submit to them that this is how a CRA is supposed to work.
When we,
You know?
if you remember, when we went down to, on the Hill, I call it Capitol Hill days, when we went and sat with our state reps, that was the one area. Tell me what you're thinking about this, because our CRA, it does, if you go to the Florida Redevelopment Association, that's what governs our CRAs, and see what CRAs are supposed to do and what their missions are doing, and Amy has taken that quite literally and ran, and our CRA is a phenomenal CRA, and she's solving problems and all that. And when I talked to the state rep and our lobbyists, I really honed in on the great work that our CRA is doing. Just because in other cities their CRA is not ours, I don't care.
Right.
It's what affects High Springs downtown or redevelopment district.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
So on the next budget cycle, will the farm market be off? Because I know they're no longer under CRA, so it would be.
They're a part of the general fund.
Okay.
Why did we make that change? Why did we make that change?
Because CRA can't, when CRA does a project or something, CRA can get it started and get it rolling for a few years, but you have to pass it off. They can't sustain anything. For example, the easy example would be these planters that Amy and Wayne, you see them go out and they're watering. She can buy that, she can pay for the stuff, and she can even get it going. But after a couple years, you're required to turn it over.
Right.
And the farmer's market, Amy's done a great job, and she's still gonna, even though it's gonna be coming out of the general fund, Amy's done such a good job with the farmer's market, with Carol. And she'll still be the oversight on it, it's just it's funded out of general fund because CRA can no longer fund it.
Okay, so then operationally and functionally, Amy's still in that mix.
Yeah, I'm still
Okay.
adding support.
Yes.
Okay. I understand how you got pulled in when we were reimagining the farmer's market, and that was kind of part of that initiative. That makes sense. So it used to be part of the general fund before we did that?
Yes.
No, if it's part of, so.
It was
oh, yeah,
prior?
I'm sorry,
It was.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
And then it
So
just temporarily got moved over.
so vice versa, if CRA funds it, they gotta hand it off. So we'll use the planners, it's easier to imagine than the farmer's market because it's so big, but the planners. So eventually, Public Works, CRA will have nothing to do with the planners. The Public Works will eventually take that over. Where was I going with that?
You were making the scenario that CRA funded everything, so they
Yep.
can't
But they
hold
can't
on
Oh,
to
so
it.
operationally.
But
if
she can keep it
CRA,
going.
once CRA passes it over, CRA can't pay for it for 5 years? Is that what it is? The 5-year rule? Am I misunderstanding that?
So you set it up, and then eventually you have to have an exit plan. You can't maintain, that's the big
Right.
thing. You can work on, you can do things for 3 years, and then you have to have a
3 years,
handoff.
okay.
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
years.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So then who is Carol's go-to guy if she has questions?
Amy.
Okay.
I don't want to change it. She's done
Yeah.
a good job in the system.
Sure.
That part of the operations of it, it's not broke.
Right.
It's working
Yeah.
well, and yeah, so Amy will still be oversight of
Okay,
the
good,
farmer's
good.
market.
Any questions for CRA? Any more questions for CRA? I don't have any. I just think you've done a great job.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. We have bigger, better things coming too, so fingers crossed.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.